All right, are we live? Hello, welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. We are here. It is time for another live stream. I am so sorry. Oh, don't tell me I'm also having internet issues. Don't tell me I'm also having connection issues. Okay, so I'm sorry we're a little bit late. I am not sure exactly what happened. I thought I was having problems with OBS recognizing my cameras, and I could not figure anything out. And then it turns out that my video capture card thing, you have to, so if you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. Basically, apparently my camera got unplugged at some point. I don't know when that happened. So I thought something was wrong with OBS, and then I looked around and I was like, what's going on here? Turns out my camera was unplugged, so I had to reconnect it and reconfigure it in OBS and do all that stuff, but it's all figured out now. It's all good. We are here. We are live. It is a warm one today. It is 80 degrees, I believe, in Portland. I haven't checked, but I think it was supposed to be 80 degrees. Let me go ahead and get the chat connected here. I know I don't have the question box up yet, but that will be my next step after we get everything reconnected. Okay, we're good. All righty, cool. Okay, let's get the question box set up. So we are starting a Q&A. Ask your... Can't type at this angle. My God. Ask your questions here. There we go. All right, so you can now see the Q&A box either as it shows up today, a black box at the bottom of the screen, possibly a white box at the top of the screen, possibly some other third option that I don't know what it is yet. But yeah, there you go. You can go ahead and ask your questions there. So thank you so much. I know we have a story from Sean I saw in my inbox, so we will be getting to that. But before I get into anything else, this is what y'all need to know. So if you're new here, hi, my name's Evie Lupine, and here on my channel every Friday at 6 p.m. we do a little 2-hour long Q&A where you all ask questions and I answer them. I normally put a couple of potential ideas or themes in the title of the stream, but we don't have to talk about that. Just a general BDSM, polyamory, kink, dating apps, dating, relationships, pop culture things, LGBT stuff, anything in that general wheelhouse, feel free to ask about, and I will try my best to answer. The way this works is you all put questions in the chat, and then I answer them as we go along, generally in order, unless we have like a theme or a follow-up. So if we're talking about like service submission stuff, and I see like a newer question that's following on from an older question that I was just on, then we'll talk about that. But roughly that's how it goes. If you would like to make sure that I see your question, you can use either a super chat or streamlabs down below. That will make it so your question or whatever text you want to put in a chat shows up on screen, and then if you do have a question, I will get to it right away. You can also use the Q&A box, and that essentially preserves your question in a private area. So if you want to ask something a little bit more privately versus just like putting it on the main screen where everyone can see it, that gives you a way to ask a little bit more anonymously if you would like, and it also just kind of makes sure I know it's a question, because when I'm scanning the chat I can't always tell what's a question and what's not. So there you go. That's me. This is my co-host Bandita, who is currently like melting. Are you okay, little puppy dog? You're like all stretched out. I think she's just hot. Are you okay, puppy dog? She's normally all curled up, but now she's all like... We did a long walk today because the weather was nice. It's just funny seeing her little back foot like hanging out off the edge of the edge couch. It's cute. Anyways, that's my co-host. Her name is Bandita, and she's adorable, and we love her, and she's great and fantastic, and honestly, she's probably the reason you're watching, because like, what does it matter what I have to say, honestly? But that's what y'all need to know. Please be respectful in the chat, be polite, and listen to me and the mods, and you'll have a good time. Some general guidelines for questions: if it's like a really, really basic question like, where can I buy a flogger? I'm probably not going to answer it, just because it's Like, I mean, honestly, these days, like, it is harder to find stuff because Google sucks. So, like, it's actually more of an applicable, understandable question than it would have been, like, 5 years ago. So, you know what? Actually, fine. If you want to ask me where to buy shit, I will tell you. Because Google and Etsy are AI slop. So, actually, fine. Ask me where to buy books. Ask me where to buy toys. I'm nixing that example from the Q&A rulebook. So there you go. But I don't answer questions regardless about medical advice or mental health advice. So if you're like, you know, should I see a doctor for this? Is it safe for me to do this if I have this condition? You know, I can give you very broad strokes information about, like, yes, I know people in the scene that have EDS, have osteoporosis, have fibromyalgia, like give you that kind of data about, like, yeah, there's people like you in the scene, but I can't tell you whether or not it's safe or what activities would be safe or how dangerous it is. That's going to be a conversation with your doctor. Also, I can't diagnose you with anything. I'm not anywhere near any kind of mental health professional. But again, I can give you the broad strokes of, like, yes, people in the community have bipolar disorder, or I know people that have anxiety, or yes, a lot of kinksters are neurodivergent. Like, I can give you that kind of level of stuff, but if it's more detailed, like, that's not my realm, it's not my expertise. And also, please be at least 18 to be here. That is super, super important because we do talk about adult topics and we are adults. And if you are a minor, this is not your space. Please come back when you are an adult. And that is what you need to know. All right. So, Q&A will match your dark mode or light mode settings. Interesting. Because I don't think I've actually ever changed mine. So maybe it's different because I have it, like, system set to everything be dark mode or light mode. I don't know. That's will I be doing many in-person classes this year? It's very funny you asked that because I feel like this past year I have taught more in person than I ever have before. I am planning, actually not even planning, I am going to teach this weekend at DomCon. I am doing a everyday service class at DomCon in LA this weekend. But after that, I don't have any immediate plans to go to any other conventions or to teach anywhere else. I have a couple of events I have my eye on for maybe this coming year, but honestly, with the probable future increase in gas and or plane ticket prices, that may not be as much of a thing this coming year, just because if you don't know this, BDSM conventions don't pay presenters anything. Very rarely, some conventions will give essentially, like, compensation to presenters in terms of compensation for a hotel room. Very rarely, sometimes a flight. Sometimes tickets to the event. That's the most common one, but it depends from every different one you go to. I know some conventions where in order just to have, like, 2 tickets to the event itself and nothing else comped, you have to teach, like, 3 or 4 classes. I know other conventions where you teach 2 classes and they'll do your room and board and the tickets to the event. But airfare, you know, Ubers, taxis, pet care, none of that. You don't get money for any of that. So it's almost always like an expensive experience to go to a convention, but there's, like, a little bit of mitigation of, like, oh, we're not paying for, like, the ticket to the event itself, so it's better. But, you know, you're not getting paid to teach, unfortunately. It's more about just the love of the game and trying to, you know, give back to the community, if nothing else. So, short answer is, I guess it depends on what happens with ticket prices and gas prices. I had wanted to maybe do this coming year, do some kind of, like, maybe I'll do, like, a little, like, West Coast road trip, and I'll go and I'll teach at different venues. And I'm like, well, gas is now $6 a gallon, so that's not gonna happen, unfortunately. But maybe in the future, you know, bad year to try to do any kind of road trip based teaching thing, because that's a money losing operation for sure. That sounds so messed up. What the heck? I don't know exactly what you're referring to. I'm assuming you mean, like, not getting compensated. But yeah, basically kink events, especially conventions, like don't really make a lot of money, apparently. I mean, I don't know, there's always controversy about that. It's like, where you sell a bajillion tickets, where does the money go? Well, usually it goes to storing equipment for the event, the cost of renting the hotel itself, various contracts that need to be paid for, yada yada yada. So the money does go somewhere, but it evidently does not go to presenters, apparently. So yeah, there are some conventions that are better about it. There's like 2 I can think of, and I'm not naming any names because I don't know what people's financials are and why they are doing things, but it's never been the norm in the kink community for presenters to get paid, because it's largely been seen as a community volunteer thing and not as a job or a career. So it's a lot of kink events are ran primarily on just volunteer stuff. There's very, very, very few people that run conventions that are actually getting like paid, and it's normally people that are like full-time, like their whole thing the whole year is putting on the event essentially. Thanks for letting me know. It's totally understandable. What would be the best way to keep up with your in-person classes? So probably the best way to keep up with what I'm doing class-wise is, and just in general for things that I'm doing, is Twitter. Just because it's like, it's Twitter, it's all consolidated in one place. You don't have to worry about something getting sent to like a spam email folder. And that's usually like, I don't have an Instagram account now. Sometimes I post things on YouTube, but like, it's really hard to actually see posts on YouTube from creators, so I never know how many people actually see what I post. So Twitter is probably the easiest way to keep up to date on like what I'm doing in general. In classes, online, in person, just kind of everything ends up going on Twitter. I'm pretty sure this is about as bad as academic conventions, although I'm not sure panelists even get comp tickets. Yeah, usually panelists are just like well, you want to have fun and like be here? Usually panelists are like people who are already presenting otherwise, and it doesn't really like count for or against their compensation package, but it depends constantly across the board. So anyways, that's basically what you need to know about conventions, I guess. We love the lurks. Thanks for lurking. All right, so yeah. Let me see here. All right, I'm scrolling back up. I think I did everything. I'm like, now I'm all out of sorts because I started late. Like, I did my whole spiel. I did everything. I don't think I posted a link to the stream on Twitter. I don't know if I want to stop and pause to do that right now. Oh, Sean's story. And then I have some questions from last week I wanted to make sure to get to, because I know we had a bunch we didn't get to at the end. All right, so I'm going to pull up. We got a little story time here from live stream correspondent Sean. Oh, that text is massive. How can I change that? Anyway, I'll just keep it this size, whatever. All right, so story time from live stream correspondent Sean. For those of you who are not aware, Club Edge is another tasting party similar to Club Awakening, except as the name implies, the tasting booths are for edge play. The booths are for whips, wax, fire, electro, and a surprise booth, which this time was needles. My evening started off headed to the whips booth, as it is my favorite. The session started off with a vigorous flogging to warm up my back. The booth top, who knows me very well, told the person warming me up that he would not be able to hit me hard enough to get a reaction out of me. That caused me to laugh. As per usual, they did not say anything when they switched between the top, who was flogging, and the top using the whip. I was enjoying the single tail when at some point the top switched to a dragon's tail, which, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like, it's like sort of a tongue of leather as opposed to like a braided whip. So it's sort of like construction looks wise, like between a flogger and a whip. But a lot of people really like them. It's kind of like a towel snapping, is a lot of people compare the sensation to that. I felt one particularly hard strike on my left side of my back, and the top said he was going to stop. I was a little confused, as it seemed we had just gotten started, but he explained that he had cut me open accidentally and he didn't feel comfortable proceeding. Very good call. Accidental blood draw, especially for a leather toy. It happens, but you do need to be aware. I would say, just as an aside for this, Obviously, with any kind of impact play, you can accidentally drop blood, break skin, accidents happen, so it's worthwhile to be equipped for that potentially happening whenever you are doing impact play. And I am not exactly sure what the official protocol is, like if there is some kind of recommendation about this for leather toys, but the way that I was taught, at least, is when you have a leather toy that has had blood on it from somebody's body, that toy functionally becomes theirs, because you can't sanitize leather without really destroying the leather. Like, you can't autoclave it, you can't steam it, you can't bleach it. Like, there's nothing you can do to get rid of the matter that is in it. So usually what people will do is, if they have the ability to, they'll put it in direct sunlight for an extended period of time, and that might work well. And then you can inform people, like, hey, this toy has broken somebody else's skin before. This was their, status at the time his skin was broken. Are you comfortable using this? But for a lot of people, it's like, well, now this is going to be used on you because it's had your blood on it. And even outside of actual risk factor for transferring some kind of illness or disease, like, some people just kind of get icked out by that idea. I don't know of any story or any evidence anywhere of anyone getting an illness from a toy that had somebody else's blood on it that was then used on a second person, but we also aren't doing, like, large-scale studies of this, so who knows? Anything's possible. But anyways, that's my personal aside as Evie about leather toys and cleaning them. My back was sprayed down with alcohol and wiped off to prevent turning the whole play area into a biohazard. I felt fine to continue, but as he was uncomfortable because of what happened, I did not push the issue and thanked him for taking care of me. I have been using the Biotech topical spray in my back with great results. Yes, which is actually, so the Biotech spray, this is something that I recommend as well. I don't know if I told you about this on, like, a live stream or something, but you can get it on Amazon. You can also get similar stuff from pharmacies, but it's hypochlorous acid spray. Biotech is just one brand of it, and it comes in various strengths, but the general idea is it's really good for wound cleansing, and it's not as harsh as some other, especially like hospital grade cleaners you might use, and it's really good for, like, flushing out wounds, similar to how you might use saline, but it's supposed to be very good at promoting wound healing and then also fighting off potential infection. It's what I use whenever I do any kind of, like, blood play, skin breaking, accidental or on purpose, and I haven't had any issues with using it, so I also recommend it. And it's really, really, really cheap, and it's just, I also use it for as, like, a facial spray for, like, body acne. It's, like, good for so much stuff. I've even recommended it for people that I know people have used it that have had good results. I think for I can't remember if it's rosacea or psoriasis. One of those two. I also know people have used it for that and they've enjoyed it. But anyways, Biotech is great. Good stuff. Love it. All right, my next stop was the fire booth, where the booth top gave me full back and leg wanding and some fire drumming on my back. Quite relaxing after the whipping. So fire drumming, I'm kind of trying to pause during these and, like, explain more things for people who don't know. But a lot of fire play essentially involves, and I'm really not explaining this in any level of detail, essentially a contained, purposely designed wand that gets lit on fire, and then that gets, like, drummed against the skin, usually to, like, music or a beat of a song or something. And you think, oh my gosh, fire, that's going to be really intense, it's going to be super painful. But, unless something goes wrong, which you definitely can, usually it's more of, like, an intense relaxation, like a warm heat, as opposed to, like, causing burns. Like, the point of this kind of fire play, and fire play in general, the point is not to cause burns. It's like a whole other world of kink. My next stop was the electroplay booth, where another of my friends was working, and I asked him if he had any new toys, and they replied, unfortunately, no. They did, however, have some ugly sweaters that had shiny stripes in them, aka Mylar, which would make it electroconductive. He had me draped in the sweater and ran his violet wand over it. Let's just say that it was quite an enlightening experience. That is actually novel. I've never heard of that before. Electro tops are just they have so much innovation. It's basically like doing full body bondage with electroplay. And, like, I would not enjoy that at all. I am not an electroplay person. It is not my kink. but I love the idea of somebody like knitting a sweater and then like weaving mylar into it. Like it's similar to how there are people who make ropes that are electroconductive, but instead of having to do bondage, you just like put on the sweater. So that's like super interesting. Wow. Okay. Noted for any electroplay people. That is a very fascinating idea. My final stop was at the wax play booth. I did not do any topping this time as the booth top had a new setup. Instead of tall glass votive candles and a crock pot, he had a paraffin heater that he had melted blocks of paraffin in and was using a small measuring cup to pour out the wax on the bottoms. For those wondering, the paraffin heater was set at 132 degrees Fahrenheit. Very precise. He totally covered my back and let me relax for a little bit. As I've described in the past, it felt like a warm weighted blanket, which was just fine as far as I was concerned. Nothing kinky after that. I did not partake in the needle booth as it was someone I was unfamiliar with, and they were only doing a couple of needles, whereas the other needle tops that I am more familiar with will do a large portion of needles. Other than that, we had a raffle, and I happened to win 2 items: a Sadism stick, which is usually a very, very, very thin, like wire thin, like flicky, stingy toy that a lot of people really like those. They are, if you like sting, they are the stingiest sting that ever stung, with an apple on top and a paddle with a paw pad protrusion. The person drawing the tickets is a bit of a brat who also happens to teach bratting classes, referred to the paddle as a poddle. That's awesome, a poddle. As always, be sure to drink your water. If you have any questions, please reach out to me in either Discord or FetLife. Yes, we love tasting booths. We love tasting stories, and I am so glad that you got to experience that. Actually gives me some ideas for things I potentially want to get up to. Maybe also just like a good sweater. I don't know. Fun times. Also, proper leather soap has enough lipids to break up contagions, just like washing your hands. A good solid scrub down and drying the toy out is good for the future. Interesting. You know, I feel like I've taken a couple classes, like, I don't know, 3 classes probably, where we've talked about like leather care and stuff, and blood contamination has come up. I don't think anyone has ever explained it that, like, and they probably wouldn't know, right? Because they're not like scientists or medical people, so why would they? But they definitely never talked about like, oh, you can use leather soap and the lipids would break up contagions. Usually the recommendation has been like, if you want to reuse this, leave it in the sun for some kind of period of time. But that's interesting. I have to look into that because that's an interesting idea. I think I've heard, probably because, like, for a flogger, for example, because I've mostly heard about this in the context of floggers being the examples, is you have the flat side of the flogger, and then you have, like, the back side that's more of the suede, and you can't, my understanding, at least, and I don't do a lot of leather care, so this may be wrong information, but I feel like I've been told that you are not supposed to use a leather soap on the suede side of the flogger, or that will change the texture. So maybe it's like a difficulty with cleaning both sides of the leather, but if you have like a leather paddle where you're only getting the flat side of the grain, then I imagine the soap would be like fine. It shouldn't cause issues. But somebody please tell me, somebody knows and remembers more than I do, because I don't have a lot of leather and I'm not usually the one to take care of it if it does come up. I didn't know that there was a place to explore these activities. I'm still new to these experiences, and I'm still figuring it all out. Where do I even start? That is a huge question. It depends on what you want to learn. I think definitely reading books, watching YouTube videos is a great place to begin with, just so you have a basis of knowledge. I'd recommend checking out my videos I've made before on signing up for FetLife and finding events, and that will probably give you the most in-depth information about, you know, going to the right websites, finding the right places, how to vet things, and, you know, you'd be surprised what is out there, even if you're in a relatively small city or a conservative area. You know, as long as you're in North America, there's usually a lot of options. Europe as well, although I don't know exactly where people in Europe post their events or advertise things, so that's outside of my area of expertise, but those would be probably the best things to start off with. I love how knowledgeable you are about everything. It's great for someone who isn't around this sort of stuff all the time, especially where I am in the UK. I am glad you think so. I definitely don't know everything about everything. I feel like I have a couple areas where I have really deep knowledge, but for the most part, I think just because of my own exploration and the fact I just like kink in general as a thing, I have obtained a broad base of knowledge, right? I've done sort of the undergraduate college experience of like broad base and then an area of depth. Like my broad base is kind of kink in general, and then the areas of depth are more like power exchange, pet play, CNC, like that kind of thing. It might change the grain a bit, but using a microfiber towel and precisely applying the soap really minimizes that. Huh, the more you know. All right, well, I'll have to look into that, because that actually would make things a lot easier. if it was that easy to I guess sort of clean, sanitize, not going to get into that. There are leather soaps and brushes that are used by car detailers for expensive leather, so it can be done. That's true. Now I'm just thinking about like a movie where somebody like a mobster rolls into a car detailing place and has somebody get the blood out of the leather in their car. I guess that's probably a thing. Would make you look very suspicious though if you kept Googling how to get blood out of leather over and over and over again. That would probably get you put on a list real quick. But yeah, definitely don't be creepy. That's a good thing to note. All right, I'm going to get to some of the questions I did not get to from last week, because there was a couple on there that looked interesting. And then remember, I do go roughly in the order that questions get asked, so asking early is always the best option. All right, where is this saved in my phone? Is it in my photos folder? No, I don't want to see a year in review slideshow. Jesus Christ. Would it be with my camera, or did I take a screenshot with my phone? Oh no, I like a boomer, I took a picture from my phone. Awesome. Okay, so this one actually connects into something that I wanted to talk about today, which is like service submission and male submission, because that just keeps coming up for some reason. Why does it feel like male submissives are stigmatized, and how to work through that? As far as why submissives, or male submissives in particular, are stigmatized, that is something that you could probably write a book about, theorizing all the possible reasons. For my 2 cents, though, the reasons why I feel like male submissives are stigmatized that are the most common are probably all interconnected, really, at the end of the day, but really boil down to the trappings of masculinity and how much that constrains people, and how we talk about and visualize kink socially, kind of just like out in the world, right? So male submission is usually, if it is viewed at all, it is viewed through the lens of professional domination and essentially sex work, adult content, that kind of thing, and imagery coming out of porn, which is always going to be reductive because it's based on a fantasy experience that usually doesn't really closely reflect real life. So there's that layer of it, of just when it is being represented at all, it's normally not very accurate. And then when it does come up in pop culture, it is normally stigmatized through it being the butt of a joke or a punchline or evidence of somebody being really weird. You know, like there's one I always remember from Community of walking into one of the characters' rooms and seeing like a sex swing and a gimp mask. It's always a gimp mask, right? And that being like, oh, they're like weird and it's like a sex thing, and they, you know, it's treated as like creepy and icky. And I think all of that ends up going back to the idea that men are supposed to be strong and tough leaders. They're supposed to be alpha males, right? The role of the man in the household is to lead and to command other people. And if you're a follower, you're a weak beta male, you're a sissy, blah, blah, blah. You failed as a man. If you are submissive, if you want to follow other people, and it goes against what you're supposed to be, if you say that you want to be ordered around or be spanked in the bedroom or what have you. So I think the main part of the stigma really comes from it being a subversion of what ideal hegemonic masculinity is supposed to look like, first and foremost. I think the other part of it is outside of what you see from the role that ideas around masculinity plays, is that when people in society, mostly outside of the community, but sometimes inside of it as well, when they talk about submissive men, they always do it in the most infantilizing, like disgusted terms, like, you know, again, the wurmp in the gimp suit, the disgusting cuckold. That usually the physical image that people associate with male submission is like usually very negative, and so that contributes to people believing that if they're submissive, that means that they're like disgusting and ugly and worthless and they're never gonna find love. And it's like, you know, very, very harmful, I think, the way that so much of submission, especially for men, is talked about. And I think inside of the community, there's sort of two things that happen. I think one, there's the fact that, unfortunately, a lot of male submissives are not really submissives. They are men who have watched a lot of adult content. They've watched a lot of porn, and they think that in order to get their sexual fantasies met, they need to throw their feet at the nearest woman in the room and go, "Please, goddess, allow me to serve you. I am but your humble servant," blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I'm a switch and I'm monogamous and I'm actually here with my partner, so fuck off. Like, you know, they don't have any, like, I don't like the term porn brain, but just for the sake of brevity, I will say, like, it's porn brained not because porn is bad, it's porn brained because you didn't apply any critical thinking to what you got out of the porn. Like, it's not the porn's fault, you just didn't understand the separation between the fantasy landscape you made in your head and other people existing in real life as actual independent human beings. So, you got male submissives who act poorly, who are very demanding, very demeaning, flip on a dime, try to trick people out of services, like trying to get freebies, trying to coax people or pressure people into being something that they're not, right? Like, I get a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but I get some messages and DMs from people that are like, you know, how much would it cost me to have a session with you, mistress? And it's like, when did you ever, how did you think I did any of those things? It's like, they just go, it's very much like, where is my mommy? But like, where is my dommy instead? It's like, who's going to be my dommy? Like, they just, anyone that has a pair of heels on could be a dom to them. They just don't look any further. So you get poorly behaved submissives, usually men who don't understand boundaries because they're taking in both the lack of understanding the separation between fantasy and reality and seeing other people as people versus just like objects to act upon. And you add to that sort of general like male entitlement to women's bodies and women's time, and they just like don't see what they're doing as a problem. So that makes it stigmatized within the community because people instantly get their guard up about like, oh, are you going to be one of those, right? Are you just like one of those people who's going to like try to coerce me into acting out their exact sexual fantasy without any regard for my pleasure, what I want to do, and what I get out of the experience as the dominant. We'll also do things like doing things that are totally unsafe and rushing into play with like anybody and everybody. So you get like that stereotype in the community. And then outside of that, submission is largely seen as feminine in terms of how it's portrayed in media, when people get exposed to it through things like movies. Even within the community, I think there's a lot of coding of, especially we're talking about like the pansexual community, a lot of coding of submission as being feminine. And so all of that goes together to stigmatize male submissives, and you kind of get it from all directions, and it really, really does suck. But the good news is that there are good lifestyle dominants out there of all different genders and flavors who very much want to play with male submissives and want to have male submissive partners, and they are oftentimes very desperately looking for people who are actually genuinely submissive and not just men who want to use someone to recreate their porn fantasies and then disappear off into the night. And so if you are genuinely very interested in being a submissive, not just getting a one-off experience that's exactly what you want without regard for the other person, you will probably have a lot of luck in the community. It's just more of a it's there's more of a gap. And I'm sure someone, like if Sean is still in the chat, they can probably lend you some more insight into like how to go through that process. But doing things like going to events and meeting people, talking to other male submissives, being polite, listening to the rules, not flinging titles at everyone that you meet, not like approach people as people, really, which is advice everyone should take regardless of what your role is or what you're looking for, is treat people as people, not play things, not dispensers to get your kink needs met, and you'll have a much better time. Not the super chat proving Amy's point exactly. Yeah, good. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, if you have A on your username, that is very much a strike. Okay, so that is why are male submissives stigmatized. Oh, I forgot the second part, which is how to work through that. I guess I sort of answered this, but just to make it really clear, I don't know what your orientation is or who you would want to be playing with, but I would really look for submissive support groups, power exchange discussion groups. If you're wanting to submit to a female dominant, look for a femdom male sub or just general femdom event, and you'll find like-minded people. I really believe if you're dealing with internalized stigma and shame around what your interests are, the best way to cure that is to be around people that understand you, support you, and aren't going to shame you for the things you're into. And in the kink community, you're going to find that by finding other submissives, people who like male submissives, who want to play with male submissives, or just like other male submissives or femdoms, right? So kind of something in that wheelhouse. Play parties are great, meeting play partners is great, but I think it also is very beneficial to have a strong basis in community just through friendship and like meeting people, and that will also serve you eventually in the long run for like finding like-minded people that are play partners. And you'll get a chance and an opportunity to talk to people directly who have been there, who have gone through things, that are in a place that you maybe eventually want to get to and have been where you're at right now, and they can give you really good detailed advice about like, this is how I work through this on like a very deep personal level. Because I've never been a male submissive, I can't speak to what that experience is like. I am kind of weird in that I just sort of realized I was kinky one day and then went like, okay. Like I've never really had to grapple with like any sort of like, does this mean I'm like deeply unlovable, or does this mean I'm like less valuable as a person? Like I've never had to deal with any of that. I've just sort of been like, oh, okay, let's just explain some things, I guess, and then I just move on. So I haven't had to do that work specifically with this around dealing with that shame or that stigma, but also, just like don't let, like, especially if you're seeing this on like social media, like if you're seeing stigma from like, I don't know, like Reddit or like Tumblr or anywhere, just like don't engage with that content, right? My advice really truly is, if you are not a content creator, if you don't need to be on the internet a lot, advertising what you're doing, getting eyeballs on your content, just don't engage in that kind of stuff. Like if you see stuff that upsets you, if you see things where people are like, male submissives are so gross, or like, how could anyone want to dominate somebody with a penis, or like, I don't know what people are saying, if anything like that, if you see anything like that, just like click not interested, this content upsets me, blah blah blah, whatever you have to choose on whatever platform you're on. Don't engage with it beyond that. Just say you don't want to watch it, don't engage with it, don't comment, don't do anything like that, don't even downvote it, and then just like engage in stuff that you do actually like, that you do want to see more of, and cultivate that. Or better yet, just like don't use those websites. If you just see a lot of it and it's everywhere and it is like you will be forced to see it, then just like don't interact with it. Just don't get off the app. Just stop using the app, okay? If it's in real life, it's obviously a little bit different, but I think I've seen a lot of people, it just seems like more and more I hear more people be like, oh my god, I'm seeing so much more hate towards like insert kinky group here, whether it's brats or male submissives or kink in general or female submissives. And why subject yourself to that if you don't have to, honestly, is the point. Yeah, block early and block often for sure. Yeah, blocking accounts, especially if it's something you're seeing a lot of that you don't want to see, like blocking is a great thing. Don't feel guilt about blocking for sure. Yes, I do have a video on how to use FetLife. It's more or less up to date. There are obviously some new features that come out all the time, so I don't have like everything in there, but if you just want a general guide to using the website and what it looks like and all of that, I already have that lined up for you. Yeah, very much. Block early and block often is good protocol. All right. Next question. Let me see here. I think I answered that one before. Always been curious, for your content aside from your knowledge by research and perhaps personal experience, do you also get some aspects of it from people you know for feedback on specific kinks? Yeah, so I don't even really always know how to explain where I get certain ideas for videos. Like, it's so hard to separate out, like, where I've learned something from, or where I heard something first, or where I saw something even. But usually my videos, if it's something that's like primarily based on my personal experience, like especially if it's like pet play or power change or something, like that's pretty much just like all me. But if it's something that's like not my kink, like DDLG for example, let's say, that is largely going to be based on some combination of books I've read, classes I've taken, people I've spoken to in real life, people I know who are my friends, scenes I've watched other people do at events, people I've talked to just online in like online community spaces. Like, it's an amalgamation probably of like 5 or 6 different things. Occasionally I will share something that's like from a person I know. Like, I might say a story that's like, oh yeah, I know someone one time who did a scene that was like this, right? But that's like as much detail as I go into in terms of something that's identifiable. And that might be something I witnessed, it might be a story that somebody told me, it might be a story I heard like on the internet somewhere that was like a cool example that I thought was worth sharing. But I don't always remember, because it's just like I'm so immersed in it all the time, and I have been for a decade at this point, that I'm like, where did I can't tell you where I first heard the idea that like, or if I just came up with it on my own, that like having your daddy dom help you brush your teeth is like a fun potential part of a nighttime routine for like a DDLG relationship. Like, did I see that on Tumblr? Did somebody tell me they did that? Did I hear it in a class? Did I invent it? I don't know. Like, it's also hard to know exactly where things come from, unless I've seen something like really recently. It's like a quote from a book, or like I know it's for sure from a class I took recently. Otherwise, just kind of like, because all jumbled up in there usually. But yeah, usually I have, just because I get the opportunity to go to a lot of events and a lot of classes, I end up like seeing a lot of things and talking to a lot of people. And I don't know, retain all of that in my head basically. So there you go. The things people say about it make my head hurt, and it just completely destroys my mood. Yeah, definitely don't engage with that. If that is making you unhappy, like, just don't look at it, honestly. I've pretty much left the online age play community and decided to focus purely on my IRL little community, which for me has been very successful, luckily. Yeah, I really recommend that. And it's hard, because I know like you can have really niche kinks that like you might live in a small enough area to where nobody else has a hypno kink, or there's not enough people to have like a group, so it's really you and like 1.5 people that are like in the group, right? So I get it if you don't always have that option, because I think online can be a really good entry point for a lot of people. But if you don't have access to that, or, you know, okay, fine. But if you can do it in real life, whether any hobby group, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's like Lolita or cosplay or tabletop RPGs or kink or anything, any hobby, I have never heard a deviation from this. The online community is always harsher, more judgmental, and ruder than the real life community. I don't know what it is. I think that it's just a facet of the internet, and certainly with kink, you are going to see, because you're online, you're just going to see more of the negative engagement when you're in an online space versus in real life, where you're pretty much only going to be around people that are really highly invested in the kink that you're all sharing. And there's going to be like interpersonal community drama. People aren't always going to get along or like each other. That's like part of having a shared interest hobby group, is there's going to be little spats and things are going to happen. But that's very different than the volume and the directness of somebody being like, I hate you, and people who are like you, and I think you're disgusting and that you're pedophiles or whatever, right? It's like, oh, like, you don't have to deal with that if you're just like in a real life community with other people who already get the kink that you're sharing. So I do really recommend that. Sometimes the kinky muses come down and whisper some weird stuff in people's ears. Good of an explanation as any, really. I mean, yeah, I genuinely, if I'm doing a video where I'm giving like random scene examples, that is essentially what happens. And I think that's probably why I'm good at this at my job, is because I can, like, somebody can be like, I really like DDLG, but I also want to explore bondage. How can I combine those two? And I can just like picture a scene idea in my head, and it might not end up being what that person likes, and it might not be executed particularly well, but I can like visualize the broad strokes of like, oh, here's how you could combine those two and it would have that flavor. And by the way, the thing that I'm picturing in my head when you're talking about combining DDLG and bondage is doing some kind of Raggedy Ann doll role play. Is doing like classic, like getting tied down to the train tracks like type role play, where you're, I guess that's probably more dollification, but I was picturing more like sort of, you know, children pretend to like do things with their animals and their dolls and like also be their dolls, like, you know, like that could be part of it, you know, or it could be, you know, something else involving stuffies, probably like just doing bondage but then also having the stuffies like also tie it around you at the same time with the rope. I don't know, something like that. Have I ever seen anyone do that before? No. Does it sound like something a little would enjoy? Probably, yeah. So that's that. Yeah, and also if your online like tone and facial expression isn't there, and that does make it a lot harder. That's also true. See, look, and somebody's like, oh, cute. There you go. You all should also ask me in general. Ask me to come up with more random scene ideas. I do really like that. So if you're also like, I want to do a thing this weekend, but I don't know what to do. I love doing random scene ideas. Please give them to me. I'm glad you like that idea. For me, it's hard to find online baby fur age play communities more focused on the age play than the diapers. Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, if you're... I imagine one definitely predominates. Because I don't really know a lot about baby furs because I'm not a furry, but I definitely would associate baby furs and that side of the age play world being very, like, crinkly diaper focused. Do I understand why? No, because it's not my thing, but like that is a thing I am vaguely aware of for some reason. True, I mean, you're developing a scene around cilantro? Inspired. Thank you. I got one, I have one superpower, and it is being able to visualize things. Like I saw something on Twitter the other day that was like, I think it's really fascinating how musicians exist, because like what do you mean you can just like picture songs in your head that like no one's ever played before and then just like come up with them? And I'm like, I guess I do that. Like, I'm not a musician, but I definitely come up with little songs throughout the day, and I think I do the same thing with like scene ideas as well. It's just like, well, that would be cool. What if I did that? Like, also, it is really fun. Here's a fun idea, free idea for any bottoms or submissives if you have a play partner. You should just text them randomly and be like, what do you think about doing this kind of thing? Just see where the ideas go. Like, have you ever thought about using peppers during a scene? Have you ever thought about, I don't know, using this thing? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, what are you getting at? What's going on? Tell me more, give me more. And then it turns into like a fun way to collaborate on doing scene experiences. And I think a lot of people, nobody asked this question, but now I'm monologuing about it. I know people struggle as bottoms and submissives to know how to share things that they are curious about or want to try without domineering their partners or feeling like they might be coercing or pressuring a top or a dom into doing something, and therefore ruining the power exchange of the experience, or ruining the dynamic of the experience because, well, but they're only doing this because I specifically told them to do this thing, so like, it just like messes up the flow of what they want to experience. And I think the best way to get around that is, instead of being like, and you can do this, but if it messes with your headspace to communicate this way, then like try something different. But like, if you're used to communicating more like, next Friday, I would love it if we could do a flogging, right? That's great. Perfectly fine communication. Nothing wrong with that. But if that ends up feeling like, well, my partner's only flogging me because I told them to, instead what you can do is you can float ideas that are, instead of being like, next week, let's do this, be like, have you ever thought about trying this? Are you curious about this? Or, I thought it might be fun to do this. What do you think? And I think that opens the door for it being a lot more of a back and forth of sharing ideas of like, oh, you know, I haven't ever really considered giving somebody a black eye before. What about that? Sounds interesting to you. And then you can have a dialogue where you share what you're into about the idea, and they can share what they like about it or what they don't like about it. And then you can come up with a scene idea together, and then nobody feels like they're putting in all of the work. Nobody feels like they are pressuring somebody else into doing a scene with them that looks the way that they wanted it to look, because you are fundamentally building the experience together. So there you go. That's my soapbox. That's my idea. She is. She's got her little tongue out and everything. It's so cute. Yeah, she's snoozing. We went on a good walk today. The weather was so nice outside. It was fantastic. All right, I definitely need water. Oh my goodness, my throat is dry. All right, let me see. Next question here. Good question from Vanessa. As someone who bruises easily and with bruises that last a while, do you have any skincare tips to help bruises heal after impact play? Or is it better to just enjoy the bruises for what they are, LOL? Okay, so I have very much looked into this from both sides of the equation, either causing more bruises or getting the bruises to heal more quickly. And by and large, bruising is like a very personal experience based on your tissue, the type of bruises, the depth of bruising, the location of the bruising, yada, yada, yada. It's all very, very personal. So what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for you. And I actually think that in order to heal bruises faster, instead of thinking about topical aftercare, it's probably better to think about what you're doing and putting into your body before you do the scene. So thinking about hydration levels, general vitamin consumption, especially things like your B vitamins, your iron, your like basic building blocks you need just to like have a healthy existence. And if you are really struggling with like wound healing and bruises, my brain goes to like, okay, are there circulation issues? Is there low iron? Is there anemia? Is something else going on where there's maybe some kind of like nutritional deficiency that could be leading to like bruises lasting for longer than you want to? So it's maybe worth going to a doctor and saying like, hey, like, you don't have to say you're getting bruised for kink reasons, but you can say like, hey, like I know that, like, this is what I would do, is I would be like, so I noticed that like whenever I like, bruise my shin on the dining room table, it takes like a really, really long time to heal, and I'm wondering if it like might be because I'm anemic. And you can ask to like get like blood work done to see like, okay, do you have like crazy anemia? Do you have some kind of deficiency going on? Because if it's really lasting for a long time and you're generally really somebody who bruises easily, that might be why. Topically, in terms of things that help bruises heal, I can't name anything off the top of my head of anything that's like, oh, this will definitely help it heal faster. But usually your body in general will recover faster if you're doing all the good old basics, drinking your water, taking your vitamins, having healthy meals, and getting in some kind of light activity, so helping your like blood flow and circulation stay up. If you're just like laying down and resting, or like, you know, sitting on an airplane for 12 hours, you're not gonna have you're not gonna, you know, get the circulation and things that you probably want to have otherwise. But that's what I've generally found. I actually, now I'm curious, I do kind of want to look into like I would look, honestly, if you want to be super nerdy and you have the ability to do this, if you can like read studies, is I would probably look up like dermatology studies on like bruise healing, and see if there's any data about like topical things that help with that. I know some people really like arnica, but also arnica is kind of homeopathy. And I don't really know if it actually does anything. I used to use arnica before because like everyone on earth recommends it, and I've like never noticed a difference with it. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents of what I found. I guess kind of works for me. Yeah, just actually, now I'm wondering if there is, I don't know if there is something. Now I'm curious enough to where I am going to look it up. Give me a second. See if I can figure this out. Does anything topical speed bruise healing? Because I know obviously like cut skin, there's quite a bit you can do to speed up wound healing and prevent scarring, but bruising is a little bit more complicated because of like what a bruise is as opposed to like a cut skin. Oh yeah, vitamin K is another, seeing if you have like a potential vitamin K deficiency. That could be one. And then generally just like making sure that the if there is any broken skin, like taking care of that for sure. I don't know like ice and heat, what the current recommendation is on that. Oh, there's a whole, of course the climbing community has things about this. Yeah, they're basically saying get your iron levels checked. This is a sign of anemia. And some people are recommending topical vitamin K, the cream, but that's not something I would use that. With any sort of, any supplement, anything, especially vitamins, like talk to your doctor before you start taking stuff willy-nilly, because you don't want to overload yourself on vitamins if that isn't the problem. But it seems like potentially maybe researching iron and vitamin K and see if you have some kind of issue there could potentially be it. I've also heard vitamin C, but like I don't know if that's like actually it. But I will do more research on this, and I'll get back and see if I find any definitive studies about this. But you know, just talk to your doctor's situation if it's like a persistent issue in your life, more so than like advice from the kink community. I had a vitamin K deficiency in college. I thought something was super wrong. Yeah, and I think also there's like a whole interplay between like vitamin K and vitamin D and magnesium, and like it can be a bunch of stuff. So it's just like a full panel, honestly. If you haven't ever gone to a doctor and gotten like your vitamin levels checked out and something is going weird with your body and healing wounds, like just there could be all kinds of things going on with various potential imbalances and all of that. So yeah. Yeah, people just, especially like everyone is like a supplement shill. Like every third influencer has a side gig where they like try to sell you gummy vitamins or like sell you a pill. And you just can't start like taking stuff without like knowing what's going on in your body already. Like you could have like, because what happens is like, and this is something I know from like people that I've actually known in real life, like you might think, oh, I have like anemia symptoms, I'll just start taking like some iron supplements, and then they do that for like 6 months, but then they don't ever get tested at a doctor's, and then they don't ever learn that they actually have like an absorption issue, and that they could take as much orally as they could possibly physically stand to consume, but it never actually gets converted in their body to the right amount. And so what they actually need is like, you know, doctor's supervised IV transfusion or something instead to actually make sure it gets absorbed properly. So if you're not getting tested, if you're not getting your blood levels checked, you're just like really playing with fire and or wasting your money and time on supplements that you don't need or that your body isn't absorbing. And it's really good to have a baseline in general for when you do supplement, you can go back and check like, oh, did this actually make a difference? Is my body absorbing this? Yada, yada, yada. But yeah, talk to your doctor. It's definitely a talk to your doctor one. I've also heard that massages can help the body to absorb and break down the blood from the bruise. I can't say if it works or not, but I can see the reason why it would potentially work. I don't know anything about that. I would say probably what's more likely to be going on there is bruising, and especially if it's from impact play, like you generally, if you're bruised, you're probably also like pretty sore and stiff, and the massage might also just help you feel less stiff. God damn it. I have my fan on and my camera's still overheated anyways. God damn it. Okay. All right. We're bumping up the fan level. We're going to fan level 3. All right. Give me a second. I know, puppy. Hi. Hi, girly. Would you like some pets? Would you like some pets, tiny baby? Hi. We're on the tiny camera together. Hello, girl. Hi. How are you? You don't feel too warm. You feel pretty cool. Hi. Yeah. We're just taking a little break because the camera overheated. Hi. Oh, big sneeze. Hi, girly. Hi, girl. Girl. I need a pet break. I need a pet break. I need a pet break. All right. Heading over. Bye. Oh, where are you going? What? No. Sorry, you have to stay up here. We're not done yet. I'm so sorry. Hi. You need water? Are you thirsty? I'm gonna let her down because I think she might need water. Because it has been hot outside. Now we're in the black void. Ah! No, now she's just staring at me. She's just looking at me. Yeah, who turned the lights off? Nosferatu. All right. It's a Band-Aid break. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you guys can hear me when I was talking to her or not. I don't know if this microphone's able to pick up over there. We were having a little chat. All right. So where was I with questions? Oh, what if you feel it's because of insecurity and that's why someone's kinky? Oh, like, is it okay if I'm kinky if I think it's because I feel insecure? So that is an interesting question. It's complicated. So I don't think it's like, well, if you're insecure and you're doing kinky, that means you're doing it wrong and you shouldn't do it at all. I definitely know people who have decided to stop doing kink or take a break from doing kink if when they look into it, they go, I think I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. And I want to make sure I'm doing this from a place of feeling better about myself or because it's expressing part of who I am versus using it as a way to like act out something that I think is a negative belief about myself. I have a video that's a little bit older about self-harm and masochism. If you haven't seen that, I might watch that too, and I'll go into more detail around that specific axis. But I think if the only reason you are doing kink is because you have some kind of negative self-belief, like I have to be submissive because the only way anyone will ever love me is if I'm a total doormat, or I am not good enough to have my own opinions, and so I need somebody who will just do whatever they want, and that's as good as I'm going to get in a relationship. Or I see kink as a way of acting out the abuse I believe I will inevitably receive in any relationship anyways, but in a more controlled manner, and that's all I can expect from relationships. If you have beliefs like that, and the only reason you're doing kink, or the primary reason even that you're doing kink, is because you think like your submission or what you're doing is a manifestation of the fact that you are not worth anything, you're disgusting, nobody will ever love you otherwise, it's as good as you're gonna get. Like, think about what that says about the partner that you're with or the relationships that you're choosing to have. Like, so are you saying that submissives and dominants are just the bottom of the barrel and that anyone who plays with them is only doing so because they can never get anything better? Do you think the people that you're playing with are just going for the best possible option they can get and it's you, but you still suck? Like, that's kind of a not very nice thing to believe about yourself or the people that you play with. Like, that's not going to be good. And I think where it gets dangerous is that it's not so much the insecurity in and of itself is like a problem for kink, because like most people deal with some level of at least occasional negative self-image or self-esteem issues or whatever. Like, that's part of being human. But if it's a pervasive thing and it's like the reason you're engaging with kink is to like either reinforce or try to solve your insecurity problems or to act out beliefs related to them, like, that's going to cause issues, and it puts you in a dangerous position, because when you're acting from a place of thinking that you're not worth anything, then that means you're not going to have proper discernment when you're choosing play partners, or when you're choosing what scenes to do, or how much to play, or like who you decide to live with, even potentially if you're getting to that level of DS. So it compromises your ability to make, I think, rational, informed decisions, and that makes it dangerous. So I think it's, if we're talking about like this is the only reason you do it is for this, or the primary reason is just because of this, I think that's probably a pretty good reason to step away from kink and work on that and then decide later if you want to come back. I think if you're just dealing with insecurity and you're also kinky and you're recognizing that like for some of your relationships or some of your scenes, it's clearly a way of manifesting dealing with your insecurity issues, I think you can work on that and still be kinky. Like, you can still be kinky while also trying to build up your self-esteem or work on feeling insecure about stuff and working to lessen how insecure you feel. And that takes a lot of self-work. It takes the cooperation of a helpful partner, and you may or may not have access to that, and it may be easier to deal with that independently versus doing it while kinky. But I don't think it's like a never ever do kink thing. I think it's like being very aware of like, why are you doing what you're doing? Can you make different decisions? Can you actually work on this feeling or belief you have about yourself? And doing, I don't know, just doing the work necessary, because insecurity is so common. Most people deal with it at least some of the time. It is very much a solvable, or at least maybe not solvable in the sense it'll permanently go away, but like it is something that can be worked around. Exactly. It's like and I just don't like when minors claim it's for therapy. Like, yes, you can consider it therapeutic for you, but that does not mean it's a recognized form of therapy. That is misleading. Oh, don't even get me started, because I was there when minors, who are now adults, started like 10 years ago being like, actually, I'm doing safer work pet regression because it's therapeutic for me because I have anxiety. And it's like, okay, what? No, stop it. Get some help, like, for real. Like, I'm sorry, but actually, if you are 14 years old, the way to deal with your disorder is not to post pictures of yourself to the fucking internet wearing pet play gear and trying to be cute online for attention. That, I don't know, man. It's hard, and like I have a lot of sympathy, and I think it's good to have nuance around like, why are we doing these things, and like acknowledging that things can be helpful for people. But like age regression or like pet regression, first of all, not even real things. Second of all, no therapist who is worth their salt would ever engage in any of these things in a therapeutic practice. They're so antiquated. Even the vague versions of them that theoretically existed at one point in time are like no longer practiced. I have looked at, because one of my favorite hobbies is like helping people like find therapists and doctors, because I know a lot of people who are very neurodivergent, and the idea of finding a medical professional is overwhelming, and I feel like it's a fun challenge. So I have looked at probably thousands of pages of, maybe not thousands of pages, thousands of results I've looked at thousands of profiles for therapists and doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists and nurse practitioners, and I have never seen, even amongst the wooiest of the woo profiles, a single person who offers age regression hypnotherapy. It is just not a thing. Professionals who are licensed do not do it. If they offer it, they are a genuine grade A quack. They are not worth however much money you would be paying them. And certainly you aren't, even if it was real, even if theoretically age regression hypnotherapy was a real therapy that people actually did, and like we're practicing on a routine basis in therapy clinics across the country, you would certainly not be doing it solo, unsupervised, in your bedroom as a 14-year-old. Like, it's like, imagine a 14-year-old is like, well, actually, it's fine that I smoke weed because it's therapeutic for for my anxiety. Like, that doesn't mean smoking weed when you're 14 is fine. It doesn't mean it's like saying it's therapeutic is not a panacea for any behavior that's okay. It's like, well, it's like okay that I steal food because it's like, I don't know, maybe stealing food's a bad example. It's okay if I like steal makeup because actually it's like therapeutic for me. It's like, is it therapeutic? Or are you just getting a rush from doing an activity that you find pleasurable? I genuinely, because they're teenagers, they don't know better. They're fucking 14 years old. I feel like when people say something is therapeutic, what they mean is, it makes me feel better about my life. And something making you feel better about your life is not necessarily therapeutic. I don't know about all y'all, but I've certainly experienced a lot of mental health breakthroughs that fucking suck in the moment. They do not feel nice. There are tears, there's crying, there's anguish. They're not pleasant. And a lot of the experiences I've had that feel really, really good, I would not consider to be therapy or therapeutic at all. I've actually heard a 14-year-old say that about smoking weed. I don't have to imagine it. Yeah, so it's, same thing. It's like, okay, well, you can think that, but you're 14. You're literally in 9th grade. Like, calm down. Yeah, you can just wait. And so, like, the solution for that is just, like, not engage, don't talk to them, and don't be in spaces where people promote 14-year-olds being in the same space at the same time. And yeah, I think the collapse of kid-centered, segregated websites online is also causing a lot of issues. All right. Hi, puppy. Hello. Are we done drinking your water? Hi. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hello. Hi, baby. More belly rubs. My goodness. Okay. We can do that. Hi. Oh, look at the little baby. Look how good she is. Hello. Come here. Why pick you up? There you go. And I trust the puppy. I trust the puppy like a football. All right. Doggo camera's back. No, the bandit camera didn't overheat. She just wasn't on the couch because she was drinking water. But now the bandit camera is back. Ta-da! There you go. Alright, so anyways, I don't know how we got talking about age regression again. I really do need to make a video about that. It's been on my list for forever, but thinking about it makes me extremely mad. So, I tend to... I try to alternate, like, fun topics and content that makes me mad, and there's been too much news. There's been too much current events happening around Kink, so I haven't gotten to the, like, old school stuff quite yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. Always forget opposite direction. There we go. Papita. Do you know about the decentering of Kink in the pet play or Komono Mimi community? I wouldn't say that I know about that. I think there's, like, a segment of people, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that are kink adjacent. And so, like, if people who like doing, like, I don't know, anime dress-up stuff where they put on cute ears and a tail with their, like, sailor outfit, want to, like, meow or bark or whatever and do, like, maid cafe stuff, that's not pet play. That's, like, it's a cousin. That's one of our cousins. It's fine. Like, it's role play sans kink. That's a thing that exists. I'm not too mad about it. But I do and I actually have a video where I talk about this for a little bit. I do think that there's a subsegment of people on Twitter who think they invented being a pet girl independently like 3 years ago. And it's like, no, it's been a BDSM thing for like a long time, actually. You did not invent being a pet girl on Discord like in 2023, actually. And that I find to be very strange. But again, it's like, is it worth it to be really mad about that? Like, I don't know. I kind of pointed out as like, oh, this is an aside that I think is interesting, is like maybe people aren't realizing that there is this heritage to what they do. But I do find it concerning if it goes beyond just like, you know, using maybe different terminology or whatever. If we're getting into people are doing kink, but they don't want to say it's kink, but they're still doing all of the same activities using the same terminology, like that is dangerous. Like there's a reason why we have things like safe words and negotiations and standards and classes and rules at play parties. Like there's a reason why all of that exists, and it's for good reason, because if you don't have that in place, people get hurt. And I think the more something is separated from kink, if that's originally where it came from, like again, I'm not talking about people just like doing cute like dress up to take photos for like cosplay stuff, whatever, okay, fine. But if you're talking about like, I'm a pet girl and my owner burns me with a cigarette, what do you mean, no, I'm not a kinkster, like that's fucking weird, get out of here. It's like, so let me get this straight. You're a pet girl. I feel like it's a SpongeBob meme where it's like, Patrick, this is you. It's like with the ID picture, and it's like, that's not me. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, let me get this straight. You're a pet girl. You have an owner. She burns you with cigarettes. You wear a collar. You sleep in a cage. You like being called a good girl. You bark and go around on all fours. But it's not, you're saying it's not a kink. You're saying it's... You are just ignorant. I'm so sorry. And maybe you just think, like, oh, kink is that icky thing that, like, straight people do. So that can't be something I'm doing. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. If you, like, if somebody, like they're just reinventing the wheel and then refusing to call it a wheel, and it's like, no, we already have a word for that's called a wheel. No, I made a new thing. This is called a cork, and it's like, no, it's a wheel. It's always been a wheel. We've had wheels for millions of years. It's like, no, this is a different thing. It's like, well, it's shaped like this, and you use it to do this, and da-da-da. It's a wheel. It's like, it just, sometimes things just are what they are, and I'm so sorry. It's not my wall. It's such a good example. Yeah, it's like, but honestly, this is like, you just gotta say your piece. And genuinely, my advice is, if you're seeing this stuff online, if you're not a content creator, if you don't have to expose your brain to this, please preserve your brain cells. Really, truly, honestly, look at it. Maybe be like in the group chat, this shit's dumb. Can you believe they're saying this? This is crazy. And then just leave it at that. Just leave it there. Don't engage. Don't talk to them. Don't do anything, because it will only bring you more pain and suffering. But if you feel like you want to say something, then like, okay, you can be like, hey, so it's actually called this thing, and this has actually been a thing that's been around for like 50 years. Here's a picture from the first Pat Play meetup that happened in 1982. There you go. And then they can debate about that all they want. But I can't be a kinky pet girl. I'm a cheerleader. Yeah. I can't be the slayer. I'm a cheerleader. I have some strong theories about this topic. I plan to write in a book one day. I would appreciate that, because I am very curious. I am very, very curious to know what's going on there. Oh my goodness. Where am I in the chat? All right. I am a recovered age regression minor, and it also makes me very angry to think about, especially knowing I was one of them. Ew. Well, listen, I am glad that you grew up and got through it, and now you can understand why it's bullshit. Yes, please do want an age regression. The people want to know about age regression. It'll be on the list, but there has to stop being news that happens where like PayPal, governments need to stop banning kink stuff. If they can do that for like 2 weeks, I can make a different video. I can do something else. But right now, it's like every week I'm like, oh, PayPal banned something, Kickstarter banned something, Google banned something. Oh gosh, okay. Yeah, I should watch Buffy again. It's been a while. I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. You are just like frozen in space, little puppet dog. You are just hanging out. It's a little warm, isn't it? It's gonna be cool soon though. It's only gonna be warm for a couple days. I have tried so much to teach her to sit in front of the fan if she gets warm, and she just like does not get it. She's like, why would I do that? She does not get any, like, it'll help you feel cooler, dog. And she's like, I don't understand what you're trying to do. It's very funny. Some age regression or pet girl people don't like calling it a kink because they don't understand that not all kink is sexual. They just need to learn. Oh, actually, you're right. I already knew that, but I had forgotten that that's part of it. Is like, well, but I can't be doing this thing because they think the reason. Oh my god, this brings up a whole thing that I had forgotten about. Yeah, the age regression and like pet regression people who I guess are there minors who are calling themselves just pet girls? Because when I see pet girls, it's like 35-year-old trans women on Twitter being like, my girlfriend's so hot, she just like gaslit me into getting a vaccine in my butt. Like that's what I see. My exposure of pet girls is like mid-30s trans women who are like doing, like, inventing new kinds of roleplay that I haven't even heard of before. And they're very aware that it's a kink and they love it. But there's probably a whole other side that I'm not aware of. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's like other social media, other segments of that are like, oh, you're like 15 years old. Okay. All right, cool. You just like give me a break. Yeah, that reminds me, that unlocks something in my brain that's been like on ice for years. Is the whole reason, maybe not the whole reason. There's again, could make a video about this. We'll do it at some point, I'm sure. There's a couple of reasons that people think, well, but what I'm doing can't be kink because blah blah blah. They think what I'm doing can't be kink because kink is a sex thing, and that's what makes it not safe for work and not safe for minors, is because it's a sex thing. So if what I'm doing isn't about sex, therefore it's fine for minors to do, and it's safe for work, and it's fine. And it's like, safe for work means, would it be okay if you looked at this at your job? And I can guarantee you that it actually would not be totally cool, bro, to look at pictures of other teenagers in diapers on your phone at the workplace. That actually would like not be cool. That would actually not be chill or fine. That would actually not be dope. So that doesn't make it safe for work. The reason why kink stuff is not for minors is not because it's a sex thing. Now, that's part of the reason why minors and adults shouldn't do kink together. One of the many reasons, because age of consent laws do in fact exist, but kink is not governed by the age of consent for sex, because there are numerous states in America where the age of consent for sex is below the age of 18. However, the age to get into kink events is not below the age of 18 because it's governed by the age of majority, because you're making decisions around things happening to and with your body, not just sexual things, but things that might cause you harm, require medical attention, yada yada yada, right? So, for example, there are states where you have to be like 20 to go to kink events because of the age of majority, or various other laws that govern things around like adult content and like private clubs and various other local nuances that I'm possibly unaware of. So people think, oh, well, if I just make it a sex-free minor space, that means I can do this thing and it's not kink and it's fine. It's like, well, it's actually not what it is. But then you argue with those people till you're blue in the face about how it's not a sex thing. And they're just like, you're lying. And it's like, wait, but okay. So you think that kink has to be sexual, but you're doing all the same stuff and the same terms and using the same things, and it's not sexual for you because it's therapeutic, because it feels nice to your brain when you do the activity. But then when an adult does the same thing and they say, it's not sexual for me, it's still a kink, you say that they're lying and that they're not doing kink then, and or they're lying to themselves about it being a sex thing. Listen, sometimes you just gotta remember everyone on the internet is 12, and that doesn't, you can explain, but they're not gonna realize it until they're like 5 years older, and then they're gonna get it, and they're gonna feel stupid. But when they're that age, they're just not gonna, if they're not gonna listen, they're not gonna listen. If there's not anything you can do about it, you're not their parent, you can just say your piece, and then you just gotta move on, because they're not gonna get it. A while ago, I had to tell a friend that his anime calendar was definitely not acceptable at work because, well, it wasn't. Jesus Christ. I have a boomer family member that had a new intern at their office like a couple years ago. And I remember them telling me about how, like, we have this new intern and, like, they're really into anime. And, like, they had, like, an anime wrap on their car. They had an anime calendar at their desk. They had, like, I'm like, how likely was it, scale of 1 to 10, that the anime enthusiast, who's probably all of about 19, 20 years old at the office, how many things on the car wrap had big booba? You know? It's like, not, was it any at all? But how many? How many? Also, it definitely makes a space for predators. It makes it, like, that's a whole other thing. Again, could be a whole video. Having a space that's like, hi, we're a bunch of minors that are doing safe for work age regression for therapy reasons. Do you want to come supervise us as a non-sexual adult? Just stab myself in the forehead. There is no, you are 14, your frontal lobe is still cooking. Like, it's just no critical thinking was happening during that experience at all. Is kink always sexual? If so, what is the difference between kink and a fetish? Genuinely confused. All right, I have explained this in so many videos, so many times. I'm answering this once during this live stream, and I will not be taking any follow-up questions. If you do not understand, watch half of my video catalog, and I explain this probably in like half of those videos, okay? So I'm going to start with explaining what a fetish is, because I actually can't explain that in videos, because for some reason on YouTube, I can't say the word fetish. So a fetish has a very specific clinical meaning. A fetish is a clinical term that refers to a specific condition in the same way that terms like borderline or OCD have specific criteria of what they mean. A fetish means that you have, and this is my like back of the napkin, like top of the dome definition. I might phrase this differently if I had time to think about it, but roughly, a fetish is a durable, difficult to change fixation on some kind of stimulus that is inherently sexual in nature. So usually a fetish, people can discover fetishes later in life, especially if they grew up like relatively sexually repressed, or if, you know, they had other things going on. So people might not realize they have a fetish until later on, but generally speaking, fetishes are things that develop early on in like the sexual development cycle, anywhere from like, I don't know, rough ballpark, 3 years of age to like being a teenager is usually when like fetishes develop. When you're going through like your sexual development, for whatever reason, for a laundry list of reasons that could be a video in and of itself, and there's like a half dozen at least solid theories for why most fetishes happen, lots of potential explanations. It's probably a combination of several of them for people, and not everyone has the same reason why. So for some people, it's like just mere exposure. They see something, their brain goes, I think that's going to be hot forever now. Oopsie, I basically imprinted on this thing sexually by accident, because brains decide to do that sometimes. Sometimes it's about sublimating a really intense emotional response to something. Like if something makes you feel really afraid or disgusted, a way of coping with that mentally can be to find it sexually arousing, to the point that it can become beyond just a mere way of coping with the fear. It can turn into a very durable fixation. For other people, it might be a simple issue of essentially conditioning themselves into a fetish. Like if you are like, I don't know, you're like a 12-year-old boy and you've discovered masturbation, and you're like thinking about thoughts in your head, and you end up figuring out how to climax thinking about shoes or high heels or something, or like, you know, adult ladies wearing hot high heels. And you do that enough times in a row, you end up like conditioning yourself into having a fetish that way. So there's lots of potential reasons why, but a fetish is always sexual. It is durable across the lifespan. It typically is like, I would say usually one, sometimes like 1 to 3 related fetishes at most. So it tends to be pretty singular in terms of the amount of focus that is devoted to it. So it ends up being like, you know, somebody into like high heels and feet, or somebody into I don't know why I can't think of other ones. Latex and inflation, right? Like things that sometimes can go together for people, but they're usually pretty closely related. And again, durable across the lifespan, and it is usually, and another aspect of it too is it's a fixation in that it either very greatly enhances the sex or the masturbation that you're having, and or it is required to a certain extent to achieve arousal or to achieve orgasm. It's more of a spectrum. Women who have fetishes tend to have a little bit more of a broad pool of like what they can get off to or how necessary their fetish object or thing is for orgasm, whereas men tend to be a little bit more singular and need or very, very strongly prefer their fetish be present for like thing to happen. Like another way of thinking about this is if you have a fetish, your non-fetish related sexual experiences or fantasies might be like maximum 7 or 8 out of 10, whereas the fetish is always going to be a 10. So it's very durable, very fixated, very like very, very singular. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Broad strokes of like fetish stuff. People who have fetishes, also a lot of them consider engaging in their fetish activity to be a replacement for sex. So there are people, for example, with a spanking fetish where instead of having intercourse with genitals, they instead do spanking, or they rub somebody's feet, or they touch somebody's leg wearing pantyhose. Like instead of like engaging in tactilely experiencing their fetish is better to them than genital intercourse, because again of how pronounced the fetish is. Like I think it's really important to know what a fetish is and to not muddy the water on what it is, because if somebody does have a fetish, it is typically very difficult for them to meet partners who are like-minded in their experience and to be okay with it and to want to engage in it with them. And so by watering down what a fetish is, or by not knowing what it is, you can inadvertently like make it more difficult for people who do have fetishes to like meet like-minded people, or to confuse someone about how compatible you might actually be with them, and so on and so on and so on. So that's a fetish. Whereas a kink is some kind of non-normative intimate interest. Right? It is not necessarily durable. It's not necessarily lifelong. It is not necessarily sexual in nature. By things beyond just sex. It can be by things beyond just sex. It can be about bonding with a partner. It can be about experiencing intense sensation. It can be about relaxation. It can be about letting go of mental stress. It can be about getting opportunities to have like fun and be creative. It can be about self-expression. It can, again, dozens of potential things. Could be a video, is a video. I've talked about this before. But that's roughly the difference between a kink and a fetish, okay? You now understand? All right, kink, fetish, different. They definitely overlap. Fetish communities also tend to be separated from, they kind of overlap with the kink community, but they're also generally pretty separate. So there are people who have like a latex fetish that are part of the kink community and also wear latex in kink. But the experience of somebody who has a kink for latex versus a fetish for latex tends to be quite different. Same with like bondage feet, foot worship, whatever. And it's important to know the difference, so that way when you're communicating with somebody and negotiating with them, you know what you're getting into. At least in my experience, playing with people, having relationships with people who have fetishes, the way that they experience their fetish interest is very different than how they experience their interest in kink and what they want to do with that thing. Like, not to say that people who have fetishes are like incapable of mental separation and like playing with things that are fetish things for them in a non-sexual way, but it is a lot harder. And usually if they want to do the thing, it's to like get their fetish need met. So if I'm playing with somebody and they have a bondage fetish, typically what they get out of it, their motivations, what they want me to do during the scene, like the dynamic is different during play versus when I'm playing with somebody who has a non-fetish bondage interest but still has a kink for bondage. And again, I think knowing that and like being able to communicate about that openly is really important. Is the video being glitchy and weird? Oh no, is it? Oh gosh, let me check. I haven't noticed any stream alerts saying I have like connection issues. Let me see. No, it says the stream is healthy. That's really weird. Okay, I'm not noticing any connection issues or internet connection problems or any sort of alerts on anything. So I'm not sure why that's happening. That might be... If it's something I'm seeing on my back end, that means it's probably something front end of YouTube that's going on, and I don't know how to do anything with that. There's no sound anymore. Oh no! How's that possible? Oh no! Oh no! It was glitchy earlier, but not much. It's a little glitchy, but then it stops. Okay, that's super weird. And I just updated OBS, so it shouldn't be any kind of like issue. Okay, that's so weird. I wish I knew what was going on so then I could check it, but then none of my software has given me any kind of... I don't see anything. Sometimes if there's issues, I can see like on the back end, it'll give me a like connection history, and I can see that like, oh, I had like a ping issue there, like I disconnected for like a second or something like that. Oh wait, I'm just seeing something right now, and it just happened for like a second, and then it went back. Okay, that's weird. Okay. It might be something. Maybe it's just happening so quickly, and it's... Oh, there it is again. It's not enough to drop the stream, but I am seeing... It's like so small that it's like I have to watch it as it happens to notice it. But there is like a little bit of like... It doesn't disconnect, but it dips by like half, and then the connection goes back up. So I think Xfinity is having problems is what's going on there. Fucking Xfinity. Thanks so much. Thanks, Obama. I don't know how to control Xfinity, unfortunately. All right. Hopefully that was a good explanation of kink versus fetish. Somehow we only have 15 minutes left, so let me see. Let me see how many more questions I can get to. Yeah, thanks for answering. You're very welcome. I'm sorry if I sounded frustrated about it. I feel like it just keeps coming up. I am actually happy to explain it, but it's frustrating because I've had to have this conversation like 15 times. And there's always people that are like, well, I hear you say that, but also it doesn't make sense. But I still don't believe you. It's like, I don't know what to tell you other than like, this is a very informed thing. Yeah, actual fetishism is pretty rare. Of course, a fetish is like thing not here, arousal impossible, no exceptions, and that is a comment. Yes, exactly. I haven't seen a lot of literature about this, but I have seen like sexologists I respect talk about this more, so I'm trying to change my perspective on this a little bit to maybe more accurately reflect current thinking and try to update it. But there's like having a fetishistic disorder, which is like usually like the pinnacle of being exclusionary, but if there is a little bit more of a range of like having a fetish, I think especially for women, is we're like, guess what, including women more in research about things related to sex, we're discovering that you can have something that like meets all the other criteria of a fetish without it being quite as exclusionary. And it's hard to know how to phrase that in a way that makes sense. just because there's, at least I haven't seen any really good explanation of like where the line is then between like a mere kink versus a fetish. I think there is a gray area where like something is like crossing into a kink, and for me the difference is like how exclusionary is it, how durable is it, how long has it been around for, because typically fetishes are like hard to get rid of, last for a long time, fairly singular, all those other things that I talked about, right? But yeah, like, people are like, well, if I've heard people be like, well, if that's what a fetish is, then like no one has a fetish. Yes, exactly. Fetishes are like 1% of the population. Like, they're very rare for a reason. That's kind of what it is. That's why it's named the way that it is. Like, just liking something a little bit different doesn't make something a fetish. Oh, interesting. Curious if you know about Jojifuku / cute core fashion becoming popular with age regression minors. The style has roots in Japanese DDLG. Okay, first of all, we said Japanese DDLG / lolicon, which those two things are not the same. Content, and there's concerning crossover. I don't know what Jojifuku is. What's Joji? Am I going to regret Googling this? Oh! Okay, gotcha. This looks very similar. It looks like Fairy K is what it reminds me of. Is it related to Fairy K? Oh! I'm on a wiki and I'm seeing some pictures of examples, and I think it's cute. Like, I can see why people would like the style, but I think you gotta very clearly be an adult. Yeah, I could see why that's potentially problematic a little bit. I could see why that's like concerning. I don't know anything. I guess the short answer is I don't really know anything about that being popular with minors. But I think obviously, I don't know, having not heard of this before, I'm not sure how much, and obviously Japan has a lot of issues with sexualizing minors. See also idols, right? So, and problematic history related to underage people and minors having sex with adults and prostitution and all that we're not even going to get into. So I think there is a concern there, and I think obviously if you're like, I'm a minor and I'm going to do safer work age regression, intentionally dressing in a way that like maybe primarily appeals to like pedophiles is like probably bad to do if that's like what the point of it is, if like that's why people are doing it. But also it's like, I don't think that like people who are visually obviously adults wearing children's clothing is like not a problem. Like, I think if you are an adult, if you're like 30 years old, I don't give a fuck if you are wearing a diaper or if you're wearing a sailor outfit, if you're wearing a tutu, a onesie, I don't care. Like, you're an adult, it's fine. However, I think if you're already a minor and you're like dressing down in age, like if you're 14 or 15 and you're trying to dress to make you look like you are in elementary school, I think that is crossing over into content that's like, oh, we're not just talking about, because we actually have like data about this, we have studies that looked at this, like people are not looking at, for the vast majority, for various reasons, people are not looking at like adult age play content as a replacement for, you know, child sexual abuse material, right? They're not looking at that because, you know, they're replacing something else. I mean, even if they were using it for that reason, I think we can agree it's preferable that somebody look at consensual adult content versus something that's exploiting minors, right? I think we can say that's probably preferable. But when you're already a minor and dressing down to like look like a younger age, like, oh, that's like actually what a lot of CSAM actually revolves around, like for real though, actually, and that's uncomfortable, that's probably icky, and we shouldn't be doing that. But also, if you are a minor, you shouldn't be posting photos of yourself on the internet. I think you should have to be at least 18 to put photos of yourself online, especially of your body, okay? Especially of your body. Like, you can put it in your, like, friends-only little Snapchat if you want to talk to your friends at school. You can put it in your, you know, your text messages with your friends. Sure. That's, you know, okay, whatever, fine. But if you're posting it to the whole internet to get, like, attention on Tumblr, like, oh, that's actually, you just actually made CSAM, though. You actually, that's, no, don't be doing that, actually. That's bad. Let's not do that. It is very interesting to me that they don't, and, like, I wish I understood why it's happening, because I genuinely am very worried for people who do this. Because they're literally children, they don't know better. Like, oftentimes they're so vehemently anti-kink and are like, kink is disgusting and gross and wrong and bad, but what I'm doing is safe and fine. But meanwhile, what they're doing is creating a space that, like, is essentially, like, putting up a sign that says, like, eat here for free for predators. Like, they're saying, like, come here, water's great, predators eat free. Like, that seems problematic. Let's not do that, actually. Any ideas how a bi guy can reconcile submission with men while embodying my more sub-femme traits with managing life balance as an otherwise normal, woman-loving, masculine guy? How, as a bi guy, can I reconcile submission with men while embodying my more submissive feminine traits while managing life balance to an otherwise normal, woman-loving, masculine guy? Well, I think it's probably about finding spaces where you can be yourself. I know it's hard for bisexual men, especially because they oftentimes feel like they're not really, like, welcome in either space. Like, the gay men's space tends to be, not always, but, like, there is a reputation of them always being very friendly to bisexual men. And, like, especially because you're not, like, in gay culture, you might have more difficulty fitting into that space because, you know, you're a bi man. You've probably mostly existed in, like, straight spaces, if only ever in straight spaces, so you're not, like, maybe you don't want to be in that space, right? I think potentially exploring going to a gay men's space might actually be beneficial. But, you know, vet your places appropriately, try to find one that you feel comfortable going to, all of that stuff. I might recommend going to more queer-focused nights and, like, the pansexual BDSM community and finding those spaces, because I think you will have less judgment there and more likelihood of finding compatible partners. I think, you know, it's very typical for people to want to have life balance and separation when they have maybe, you know, they're not out to people in their everyday life, and they don't want people to know that they also like sucking a guy's cock, you know, when they're married to a woman or whatever. Like, totally understandable that you would want people around you every day to know that information about you, or that you're thinking about exploring it. So having separation that way in terms of, you know, maybe not going to social events during the week, you know, keeping it to private play parties on the weekend. I know people that will travel to a different city to go to kink events there. Like, if they live in, I'd say, Seattle, they go to Portland to go to events. Maybe don't get to go as often because of the distance, obviously, but it does help them. It does help them, like, have a separation enough with their life where they're not worried about somebody, like, seeing them going to an event or somebody recognizing them at the event itself. But, like, I mean, also, in my brain, I'm just sort of like, fucking go for it. Like, who gives a fuck? It's 2026, baby. Like, go be gay. Go to Pride events. Go to Folsom. Like, just go listen. Be gay while you can. I don't know. Like, I'm a big believer in just, like, living your life and having la vida loca and just going for it, you know, like, not, and maybe it's easy for me to say because I'm not worried about, like, maintaining a parallel life and, you know, having a work-life separation or a separation between, like, you know, a spouse I'm married to or, like, a long-term girlfriend and other people I might want to date because poly. But I really would encourage you in, like, you don't lose masculinity points by sometimes also being a feminine submissive. Like, it's not like a pool. that one subtracts from the other. They're separate. They're different aspects of who you are. Exploring one does not take away from the other. It's fine. Don't worry about it so much. I want be gay while you can on a bumper sticker. Yeah, that's really my message, honestly, especially if you're in America. Like, go to gay shit, do gay shit while you can. Go do the thing. Oh, there it is. What is that? Error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain streaming. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Well, the stream's almost done, so I can't really change it. I do also teach classes online, so that might be, if you're looking for that, that also might be like a smart thing to do. Both parties need to deserve their own safe spaces and try and create themselves sometimes, and when minors make a safe space, they risk it being open to predators. Yeah, exactly. Especially these days with the internet being so open. Like, nowhere is safe. Snapchat, Club Penguin, I don't know. RuneScape, Minecraft, Roblox, like all of it's full of predators. It's really unfortunate. It's very, very sad. But yeah, be gay, do stuff while you can, live la vida loca. That's. I'm sure I don't have better advice, but I've never had to deal with being a bisexual man, so I don't know. I mean, I also trying to think of like, I don't know any. I just see the problem is I don't know any bisexual cis men. I know a lot of pansexual, non-binary AMAPs. Like, I know that experience, but it's not quite the same. And that's its own journey. That's its own journey. I wish I had Ziply fiber. They don't come out here though. I look for fiber. I check every once in a while, but I'm unfortunately fiber cucked. I don't get any fiber out here. If only there was more. Was it the kink communities I see, or the gay male spaces or pansexual spaces? Are lesbian-centered communities at all common? They are not common. They do exist. If you are in California, there are a lot of lesbian-centered spaces. I would look specifically for the Exiles, and I would look for gay women's leather community. Tends to be like for kink. The most common one that you will see, I look for places like the Exiles. I know that gosh, I can't remember what it is. There is an outdoor lesbian kinky camping event that happens in California, and I want to say it's called like Exodus or something like that. Oh my gosh, I need to find this again. Just exiles.org. Maybe the Exiles doesn't host it. I know it starts with like an E. It says, can I remember what it's called? Is it Bound? No, it's not. I think Boundless is. I think Boundless is just like a general, like pansexual BDSM thing. Okay. I know that one exists. I have seen it. But the answer is, I guess, be in California. Unfortunately, lesbian spaces are notoriously places that like come and go and die very often for various community reasons that are complicated to get into, but they do exist. They tend to exist within other spaces. So they don't tend to necessarily have their own like big conventions or big dungeons. But there are things here and there. It just depends. A lot of it is focused in the leather community, from what I've experienced at least. All right, I'm gonna do one more question. Here. You know what? Actually, there's probably lesbian stuff in Florida. They're like Miami, probably. If I had to guess, I haven't lived in Florida in a very long time. But I feel like there has to be lesbians in Florida. I feel like there has to be lesbians in Florida. It's just, there can't. I mean, come on. I guess you need to lead the way. Maybe. Bum. All right, I'm looking for one last question. I'm scrolling. New to this, but if I was a people pleaser, is there a submission I should get into? I think service submission actually would be fine. But I would also caution about people pleasing, because you do need to have a sense of self and have boundaries to do kink. And if you don't know how to say no to people or say no to yourself, you are going to struggle to stay safe and have fun while doing kink. So it's striking a balance between your urge to make other people happy and keeping yourself safe. So be cautious. All right, I think that's everything I have time for tonight, you all. Thank you so much for joining me. I will not be streaming next week because I'm going to be teaching at DomCon this coming weekend, so I'm going to be out of town to go down to LA. But thank you all so much for being here. I really had a fun time. Thank you all so much. Stay safe, have fun, and hopefully I will see